At the concert, the boy who bullied me for years was standing on stage, confessing his love to the girl of his dreams. I was immature back then. His voice echoed through the stadium speakers, thick with regret. I only picked on you because I was desperate to get your attention. How are you doing these days? Wherever you are, this song is for you. Everyone in the crowd was desperately whispering, trying to guess who the lucky girl could be, while I stood frozen in place. 'Cause the girl described in those beautiful longing lyrics was me. I had just stepped out of my therapist's office when the video popped up on my feed. It was Robert Shaw, the golden boy of the music industry. The prodigy everyone was obsessed with. He was looking straight into the camera, pouring his heart out to some unnamed high school sweetheart. During a sold-out arena tour, the crowd was deafening, screaming his name on the massive screen. His face was blown up, showing every detail of that bright, effortlessly charming smile of his. He was reminiscing about a girl from his past. After graduation, she just vanished, Robert said, his voice laced with a bittersweet rasp that drove the fans wild. I spent the entire night of graduation parked outside her building, waiting to tell her how I felt. But she never came down. This next song is for her. My first love, my only one. The melancholic intro of the acoustic guitar swelled, and he began to sing. The lyrics painted a vivid portrait of a quiet, agonizing crush. Every line bled with the raw longing of a boy who had been too afraid to confess his love, yet so obvious about it. When the final chord faded, the stadium erupted in a frenzy of tears and screams. I stared at my phone screen, my chest tightening so hard I could barely breathe. The lyrics were beautifully written, capturing the fragile, heart-wrenching fluttering of a secret romance. It detailed every stolen glance, every skipped heartbeat. But the girl Robert was singing about was me. The only problem was Robert had never loved me. He was the monster who had spent 3 years tormenting me. Leonore, the nurse, called out, pulling me back to reality. You forgot your bag. I forced my lips into a polite curve and took it from her. Thank you. She noticed the sudden paleness of my face. Are you all right, dear? Remember what the doctor said. Try to avoid highly stressful situations. Take some walks. Clear your head and don't forget to take your prescription. I will, I whispered. When I got back to my tiny apartment, I opened up my socials. My fingers felt stiff, almost foreign to me. As I tapped the search bar with trembling hands, I typed in Robert Shaw. Instantly, millions of results flooded my screen. Headlines screamed about his genius songwriting, calling him a once-in-a-generation talent. Only a few rare buried comments had anything bad to say about him. Robert Shaw enrolled at the prestigious Royal College of Music at 18. Released his debut album at 19. Now at 22, he was selling out stadiums. I stayed up all night scrolling through everything. I jumped from app to app reading articles, fan theories and forum threads. By the time the sky turned a pale dusty gray, my eyes were swollen and burning. I found the original video of his concert confession. I tapped the comment section and typed 3 words. This sounds terrible. Then I shut off my phone and pulled the covers over my head. When I finally woke up, the sun had already set, leaving my room in cold, heavy shadows. A dull ache pulsed behind my temples. I had been a fitful sleep, plagued by memories I had spent years trying to bury. I had dreamed of Westfield High. I dreamed of Robert. Back then, I was a ghost. I kept my head down, barely spoke and blended into the dull beige walls of the classrooms. Until the second semester of junior year when Robert transferred in. He was tall, strikingly handsome, and carried an effortless, cool guy attitude that had every girl in our year whispering and giggling. The moment he walked through the door, the teacher assigned him the seat right behind mine. I was a wall of silence, but Robert was a storm of noise. He could talk to anyone, about anything. On his first day, he asked to borrow my notes, wasted my neat handwriting, and tried to strike up a conversation. I had never met anyone so relentlessly talkative. It made me incredibly uncomfortable. Even when I ignored him completely, he would just keep talking to himself, never seeming to tire of his own voice. But then things shifted. Like many teenage boys seeking a reaction, Robert discovered how easy it was to get under my skin. It started with little things. He would hide my homework folders. Or when he saw me zoning out during class, he would whisper that the teacher had called on me to go erase the blackboard. And because I was anxious, I would walk up and wipe the board clean, only to realize the teacher had just spent 20 minutes writing notes. We still needed. Punishment was always the same. Standing at the back of the classroom for the rest of the period. Whenever I glanced at Robert, he would just flash me a bright, mocking grin. I grew to despise him. I stopped acknowledging his existence. I went to the guidance counselor to beg for a desk reassignment, but she just brushed me off. Robert has excellent grades. Leonore, sitting near him might actually help bring your own scores up. Let us keep things as they are. So I was stuck. When Robert found out I had tried to move away from him, his smile turned sharp. So you don't want to sit next to me? He had asked. No. I replied coldly. After that, the petty teasing turned into a relentless, suffocating campaign. I dragged myself out of bed, went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. When I finally unlocked my phone, my screen was a barrage of notifications. Hundreds of hate comments and mocking messages. Are you kidding me? Some absolute. Nobody actually thinks Robert's music is bad. Sure, sweetie. We get it. You are desperate for attention. Get lost, you pathetic loser. Keep your trash opinions to yourself. The replies under my comment were brutal. But the direct messages were even worse. Filled with raw, venomous cruelty. I stared at the screen and a cold, empty laugh escaped my throat. My therapist had warned me to avoid triggers. But seeing the boy who had ruined my life, being praised as a romantic hero for loving me, there was no trigger worse than this. It felt like a switch flipped in my mind. A manic surge of energy washed over me. I went back to his page and left 5 more scathing reviews. Still not satisfied, I took screenshots of the vile messages his fans had sent me and posted them directly under his latest promotional post. Of course, a single voice was easily drowned out by the hundreds of thousands of adoring comments. Everyone was obsessing over who his mystery girl could be. She must be so gorgeous and talented. Imagine being loved by Robert Shaw. She must be the happiest girl in the world. I stared at those words. No. It was not a fairy tale. Being the target of Robert's obsession was the darkest, most exhausting period of my life. If I could, I would drag him off that glittering stage. I wanted him in the dirt. If I had to drown in my own ruin, I would make sure he drowned right alongside me. The frenzy about Robert's secret muse stayed pinned to the top of the trending charts. For 3 solid days. It was everywhere. I could not even walk down the street without overhearing teenage girls talking about it. I would give anything to know what she looks like. One girl sighed to her friend as they walked home from school. She has to be incredible. Robert is so sweet. So he would only fall for someone amazing. She must be really special to keep him hooked. After all these years, I watched them pass. My mind blank. Was he really that beloved? What gave him the right to be happy? Soon enough, someone claiming to be an old classmate joined the fray. At first, Robert's fans attacked them, calling them a clout chaser. But then the user uploaded our high school graduation photo. My eyes locked onto Robert immediately. He was in the center, smiling. Bright and handsome, still carrying a hint of boyish charm. He had not changed much, only grown more defined. More mature. Then my eyes drifted to the 3rd row. Second from the right. There I was. My face was pale, my expression hollow and somber. I looked like a ghost haunting a celebration. Completely out of place among the smiling faces of our peers. The comment section flooded with compliments. And then someone zoomed in on me and left a comment. Wait, who is this girl? She looks so beautiful, like an indie movie actress. Within hours, that comment shot to the very top of the thread. And it got tens of thousands of likes. Because Robert's official verified account had liked it. The fandom went into a frenzy. They cross-checked the account 1,000 times. To make sure it was not a glitch. It was him. People began speculating wildly. Was I the mystery muse? Some fans tagged him directly, begging for a confirmation. But he did not reply. I felt sick to my stomach just watching it. Then my dusty old high school group chat suddenly sprang to life. Robert's old high school buddies were tagging him frantically. Bro, what is going on? Is this about Leonore? After half an hour, Robert finally replied, don't start rumors. That single vague word brought everyone out of hiding. The chat erupted with praise, calling him a legend. And someone floated the idea of a high school reunion. I shut my phone off, unable to look at it for another second. My sleep became progressively worse over the next few days. The nightmares returned. Relentless and suffocating. Robert was the monster lurking in every shadow of my mind. I found myself back at the clinic. My therapist looked at my chart, her brow furrowing with deep concern. Leonore, have you been facing any new stressors lately? I let out a dry, bitter laugh. Yes, I am trapped. The nightmares woke me up in cold sweats, leaving me staring at the ceiling until dawn. It felt like I was caught in a labyrinth of his making. Everywhere I turned, his voice echoed, dissecting me, mocking me. I pressed my hands over my ears. But the noise would not stop. When I got home, I took photos of my new prescriptions. And I pulled out all my old medical files dating back years. Every single diagnosis of severe anxiety and clinical depression. I scanned them, organized them and saved them into a secure digital folder. Fate has a cruel sense of humor. I did not expect to run into him so soon. It was around 8 in the evening. I had just finished delivering a bouquet to a client on the other side of town, when my old scooter decided to die on the side of a busy road. Horns blared as cars sped past. It was just me, stranded in the cold dusk with a piece of useless metal. When it rains, it pours. I pulled off my helmet, letting the biting evening wind mess up my hair. As I reached into my pocket for my phone, a sleek, low-profile black sedan pulled over beside me. The tinted window rolled down. Leonore, the voice was quiet, hesitant, as if speaking to a spirit that might dissolve into the mist. I turned. My heart seized in my chest, fear. Pure instinctual terror. That was my body's immediate reaction to seeing his face. Robert stared at me, his eyes wide. It really is you. He made a move to open his door. But a hand reached out from the passenger seat to stop him. Robert, don't. Someone might recognize you. It's fine, he muttered. He pulled a black face mask over his nose and stepped out of the car. Anyway. Standing tall under the flickering street lights. I took an involuntary step back. Let me give you a ride, he said. Robert was tall, 6'2", according to his online profile. But he had always towered over me. For a split second, the streetlights faded and I was back in high school. I saw Robert holding my test paper high above his head, laughing as I jumped, unable to reach it. I had to drag a heavy wooden stool across the room, just to claw it back just a little higher. Leonore, you have almost got it. The classroom had erupted in cruel, snickering laughter. I remembered the burning humiliation, the way my face had scorched red, as I silently took my paper and crawled back to my desk. It is rush hour. Robert's voice brought me back. You won't be able to call a ride out here. You won't be able to call a ride out here, Robert said. I'll figure it out. You always say that when you don't want help. I stared at him. He remembered. Of all the things he could remember, that was the one he chose? I don't need you to remember me, I said. I need you to leave me alone. His expression fell. Mara looked away, giving us a little privacy. Robert shoved his hands into his coat pockets. I deserve that. You deserve worse. He nodded. I know. That answer irritated me more than an argument would have. Stop saying that. Okay. And stop looking at me like that. Like what? Like you're seeing someone you lost. He went quiet. You did lose me. His eyes lifted. I know. I almost laughed. You're really bad at conversations. I wasn't good at them when we were 17 either. No. You were great at talking. His mouth twitched sadly. You never stopped talking. You used to complain about that. I remember. I looked toward my broken scooter. Then you should remember what happened when I asked you to stop. His face changed. That memory clearly landed. Junior year. I had stood beside my desk with tears burning my eyes after he had dumped an entire bottle of water into my backpack. I'd looked him directly in the face and said, please just leave me alone. Robert had laughed. His friends had laughed with him. And the next day, he'd taped a note to my locker. Don't be so sensitive. I had spent years trying to forget that sentence. Now it was sitting between us again. Robert looked down. I was awful. You were. I don't have an excuse. No. I thought you hated me. I did. He swallowed. I deserved that too. I crossed my arms. So why are you here? He looked genuinely confused. I was driving past. That's not what I mean. His eyes met mine. The song. He went still. You want to know why I wrote it? I want to know why you lied. His eyebrows pulled together. I didn't lie. You told an entire stadium that you spent 3 years secretly loving a girl you were too immature to confess to. I didn't say I bullied you. You didn't have to. I pulled out my phone and opened the concert video. You watched people cry over this. He stared at the screen. You described the girl as someone who made your teenage years beautiful. My voice shook. You made mine miserable. Robert looked like he had been punched. I know. Stop. He nodded. I'm sorry. You don't get to be sorry after turning it into a #1 song. His eyes dropped. I wrote it before I found out you were struggling. I stared at him. That doesn't make it better. I know. Robert. He sighed. Fine. I'll stop. He looked toward the road. I wrote it because I remembered you. That isn't my problem. I know. I glared at him. He gave a tiny, helpless smile. Sorry. Despite myself, I almost laughed. Almost. Then he said something that erased it. I really did like you. My face hardened. No. Leonore. No. Don't do that. I'm not trying to excuse what I did. Then don't call it love. I don't know what else to call it. Call it what it was. He waited. Bullying. The word hung there. Robert nodded slowly. Okay. I expected him to argue. He didn't. I bullied you, he said. Thank you. I was cruel. Yes. I embarrassed you because I liked seeing you react. My stomach twisted. That is exactly what I remember. I thought if I made you notice me, you'd eventually like me. You were 17, not 7. I know. And you were smart enough to know I was miserable. I know. He looked directly at me. I don't expect you to forgive me. That caught me off guard. Good. I don't expect you to date me. Excellent. And I don't expect you to pretend the song means something beautiful happened between us. I stared at him. Then what do you expect? He hesitated. Nothing. For some reason, that answer bothered me. He continued. I just wanted you to hear the song before everyone else decided what our story was. I looked at him for several seconds. It's already too late. His phone began vibrating. Then Mara's. Then mine. I frowned. What now? Mara checked her screen. Her eyes widened. Robert. He took her phone. The headline on the screen read. Robert Shaw's mystery girl identified. Underneath was an old graduation photograph. My face had been circled. Thousands of comments were pouring in. Then another headline appeared. Former classmate claims Robert Shaw's love story isn't what fans think. Robert looked at me. Leonore. I smiled bitterly. Well. He frowned. What? I put my phone away. Looks like your beautiful love story is about to meet the ugly parts. And this time, when Robert looked afraid, I didn't feel sorry for him. I felt relieved. Because for years, he had been the one telling people what happened. Now it was my turn. The former classmate's post exploded overnight. By breakfast, every entertainment page had copied it, and the phrase Robert Shaw's mystery girl had been replaced by something far uglier, the girl Robert Shaw bullied. The post came with screenshots of old messages, photographs from school, and a short paragraph describing how Robert used to humiliate me in front of everyone. It wasn't the whole story, but it was enough to crack the perfect image he'd spent years building. I sat at my kitchen table scrolling through the comments while my coffee went cold. Some fans defended him immediately. He was 17. People change. She should be grateful he wrote a song about her. Others started asking questions. If he loved her so much, why did she look miserable in every picture? That question was spreading quickly. I almost closed the app when another notification appeared. Robert had posted. His statement was only 6 sentences long. I have seen the conversations happening about Leonore. She has every right to tell her own story. I won't ask anyone to defend me. What I did to her in school was cruel, and calling it teenage romance does not make it less cruel. I was immature, selfish, and cowardly. She doesn't owe me forgiveness, contact, or anything else. Please leave her alone. I read it twice. Then a third time. I hated that part of me was relieved. At least he wasn't fighting me. Then I noticed the last line. The song was written from my perspective, but I understand now that my perspective isn't the truth of what happened. I stared at the screen. That sentence mattered. For years, I had wondered what it would take for him to admit it. Apparently, it took millions of strangers discovering the truth. My phone rang. It was my therapist. I answered. You saw it? She asked. Unfortunately. How are you feeling? I looked at the endless notifications. Angry. That's understandable. Also weirdly calm. She laughed softly. That can happen when you've spent years expecting someone to deny your experience. I leaned back in my chair. I thought I'd feel victorious. And? I don't. Maybe because this isn't about winning. I frowned. Please don't turn this into a lesson about forgiveness. I wasn't going to. I smiled despite myself. Good. She paused. You get to decide what happens next. That sentence stayed with me. I didn't have to become Robert's enemy forever. I didn't have to become his friend. I didn't have to forgive him because he apologized publicly. And I definitely didn't have to become his mystery girl. Later that afternoon, I received an email from Robert's management team. They wanted to discuss the song. I almost deleted it. Then I noticed the subject line, your story, your choice. I agreed to a meeting. The following morning, I walked into a small conference room and found Robert sitting alone. No entourage. No cameras. No expensive suit. Just jeans, a gray sweater, and a nervous expression. He stood when I entered. Hi. Sit down. He obeyed. I took the chair across from him. You asked for this meeting. I did. Why? He rubbed his palms together. Because my label wants to release a deluxe version of the album. I stared at him. And? They want to use your story. I laughed. Absolutely not. I said no. That stopped me. You did? Immediately. He leaned forward. They wanted to put your graduation picture in the booklet. They wanted me to reveal your name during the next concert. They said it would make the song more emotional. My stomach turned. And what did you say? I told them if they used your picture or name without permission, I'd walk away from the project. I studied him. Why? Because I've taken enough from you. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I asked, do you still love me? Robert looked startled. I don't know. That answer was honest enough to surprise me. I think I loved an idea of you, he continued. The quiet girl who sat in front of me. The girl who never laughed at my stupid jokes. The girl I wanted to impress but didn't know how to approach. Then I turned that memory into something prettier than it really was. He swallowed. I don't know the woman you are now. I leaned back. That's the smartest thing you've said. He smiled faintly. I figured I'd eventually say something intelligent. Don't get carried away. He laughed. It was the first time I'd heard that laugh without feeling my stomach knot. Then the conference room door opened. Mara walked in holding a folder. We have a problem. Robert sighed. What now? She placed the folder on the table. Someone has leaked the original school videos. My blood ran cold. Robert looked at me. You don't have to watch them. I know. I looked at the folder. But I want to. Mara hesitated. Leonore, if they're already online, I want to know exactly what people are seeing. Robert's face tightened. I'll watch them with you. I shook my head. No, he looked surprised. Why? Because this time. I'm deciding what I can handle. I opened the folder. The first video showed me sitting alone at lunch. Robert walked past, grabbed my tray, and dumped it into the trash while his friends laughed. The second showed him taking my notebook. The third showed him standing behind me while someone filmed him cutting a piece of my hair with scissors. My fingers trembled. Robert looked sick. I don't remember that one. I turned toward him. I do. He lowered his head. I'm sorry. I closed the folder. Good. He looked at me. That's it? For today. I stood. I'm not going to spend another year reliving high school because you finally feel guilty. I walked toward the door. Robert called my name. I stopped. Leonore. I looked back. Thank you for telling the truth. I nodded once. Now make sure your fans hear it too. I left him sitting there with the folder in front of him. By that evening, Robert went live. Millions of people watched. He didn't sing. He didn't promote an album. He simply sat in front of the camera and said, I need to correct the story I told you. And this time, he started with the part he'd left out. I bullied Leonore for years, Robert said. The internet went insane. He didn't soften it. He didn't blame being 17, his friends, his parents, or insecurity. He told them everything. The stolen homework. The ruined lunches. The embarrassing pranks. The rumors. The videos. The times he deliberately made her cry because he liked knowing he could get a reaction. Then he addressed the song. I called it a love story because that's how I remembered it. I was wrong. I turned something painful into something beautiful because that version was easier for me to live with. The comments flew past faster than anyone could read. Robert continued. She doesn't love me. She doesn't owe me forgiveness. And if you're attacking her because of something I did, you're doing exactly what I did to her years ago. That sentence changed everything. Within hours, thousands of fans began deleting their hateful comments. Some apologized. Others defended him. But the biggest surprise came from former classmates. One after another, they started posting. They confirmed what happened. Then a former teacher uploaded an old disciplinary report showing that I'd repeatedly complained about Robert. The guidance counselor who had dismissed me was named. Suddenly, people realized I'd never been some mysterious girl who disappeared after rejecting Robert. I'd been a teenager desperately trying to escape him. My phone wouldn't stop ringing. News stations wanted interviews. Podcasts wanted me. Reporters waited outside my apartment. I refused all of them. Then Robert's management announced something unexpected. He was canceling the next concert. His statement was simple. I need to stop performing a fantasy and take responsibility for the reality. 3 days later, Robert released a new song. This time, there was no romance. No mystery girl. No beautiful memories. It was called You Never Owed Me. I listened once. It was about regret. About realizing too late that an apology couldn't return someone's childhood. The final line made me pause. I wanted you to remember me. I should have wanted you to forget me. I didn't cry. I didn't forgive him. But I finally understood something. Robert wasn't the boy who controlled my life anymore. He was just a man who had to live with what he'd done. And I was finally living mine. 6 months later, I was invited to speak at Westfield High's anti-bullying program. The school had completely changed its policies after the scandal. I stood on the auditorium stage and looked at hundreds of students. People will tell you bullying is harmless, I said. It isn't. I told them that sometimes the person hurting you would grow up, become successful, apologize, and genuinely regret it. That still doesn't erase what happened. The room was completely quiet. Forgiveness is something you can choose. I smiled. But nobody gets to demand it from you. After the speech, I stepped outside. A familiar black car was parked across the street. Robert was leaning against it. I walked toward him. You came. I said I'd stay out of your way. You're doing a terrible job. He laughed. I wanted to congratulate you. Thank you. He handed me a small envelope. I opened it. Inside was a concert ticket. His final show of the tour. On the back he'd written. No mystery girl. No dedication. Just music. I looked at him. Do you expect me to come? No. Good. He smiled. Fair. I tucked the ticket into my bag. Then I walked away. I didn't know whether I'd attend his concert. Maybe I would. Maybe I wouldn't. For the first time, the decision belonged entirely to me. And somehow, that felt better. Epilogue. 2 years later, I heard Robert Shaw's voice again. This time, it wasn't coming from a stadium. It was playing quietly through the speakers of a little cafe where I was sitting with my laptop, working on my second book. His career had changed after everything came out. He was still famous. Still successful. But the perfect golden boy image was gone. And strangely, he seemed happier without it. He stopped writing songs about secret girls and tragic romances. Instead, his music became more honest. His newest album had one song about regret that people constantly asked me about. I never commented. I didn't need to. I'd moved on. My own life had changed too. I published my first novel. Then another. Then another. The girl who once barely spoke in classrooms was now doing interviews, signing books, and standing on stages talking to strangers without feeling like she needed to disappear. One afternoon, my publisher called. Leonore, you're not going to believe this. What? We've been approached about adapting your first novel. I nearly dropped my coffee. Seriously? Seriously. I laughed so loudly that everyone in the cafe looked at me. The strangest part? The production company wanted Robert to compose the soundtrack. I immediately said no. Then I thought about it. And changed my mind. Not because I wanted him back in my life. Not because I had suddenly fallen in love with him. But because I wasn't afraid of him anymore. When we met to discuss the project, Robert looked at me across the conference table. You really want me involved? I want the best composer. He smiled. So that's a yes? Don't make me regret it. I won't. There was a pause. Then he asked, do you hate me? I considered the question. No. His eyebrows lifted. I don't think about you enough anymore. He laughed softly. That might be worse. It should be. He nodded. I deserve that. I smiled. You really do. We worked together for 6 months. There were awkward moments. There were arguments. There were times when old memories resurfaced. But Robert never pushed. Never asked for forgiveness. Never called our past a love story again. One evening, after we finished recording the final track, he walked me outside. Leonore? Yeah? I loved you once. I stopped. He smiled before I could react. Or at least, I thought I did. I raised an eyebrow. And now? Now I respect you. I smiled. That sounds healthier. Much. We said goodbye. And that was it. No dramatic kiss. No miraculous reunion. No rewriting the past. Just two people who had once been trapped in the same ugly chapter, finally closing the book. I walked home alone beneath the city lights. For years, I'd wondered what it would feel like to stop being the girl Robert Shaw bullied. I finally understood. I wasn't her anymore. I was Leonore. And my story had never belonged to him. It belonged to me.